So what I want to do here, I want to go over the three main types of elastic collisions that we discussed in class. So let's start with the first type. Remember, in the first type, we said that we have mass 1 here. We're going to call this mass 2, and both masses are equal. So in the first type, remember, mass 2 starts off at rest before the collision, and I'm going to move mass 1. So let's do this and see what happens here. Okay, so in this collision here, okay, notice what happened. So in this collision, when both masses are equivalent, notice how after the collision, mass 1 came to a stop and mass 2 started going. And notice that when mass 2 started moving, it had the exact same velocity that mass 1 had before the collision. And that makes sense why that should be, because remember, total momentum stays conserved before and after the collision. So if total momentum stays conserved, that means the velocity of this object after the collision should be equivalent to the velocity of this object before the collision. Okay, so that was elastic collision type 1. Okay, so let us move on to elastic collision type 2. So in type 2, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take mass 1 and I'm going to make mass 1 greater than mass 2. Okay, so mass 1 is greater than mass 2, and notice mass 2 once again starts off at rest before the collision, and we're going to move mass 1. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Okay, so if y'all notice, in that collision, mass 1 keeps moving. So after the collision, mass 1 keeps moving, whereas mass 2 started going, and they're both moving in the positive direction, assuming we're calling this direction positive. Okay, so that's this second situation. Now, what I want to do here, I want to prepare for the third and final situation. Okay, guys, give me just a second while I reset these cars here. Yeah. Okay, guys, let's get ready to do this. Thank you for being patient with me. Okay, so now in the third type, this is the third and final type, I'm going to make mass 2 greater than mass 1. So this is the third and final type of elastic collision. So mass 2 is greater than mass 1. And once again, mass 2 starts off at rest before the collision. And we're going to move mass 1. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Okay. So, what do you guys notice here? So after the collision, mass 1 actually started moving in the opposite direction after the collision, and mass 2 started moving in the positive direction after the collision. And of course, I want you guys to notice one more thing is that when mass 1 moved in the negative direction after collision, it was moving at a slower pace compared to mass 2. So there you go. There are your three main types of elastic collisions.